Welcome to the Holistic Health Bites podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Nicholson, crime scene investigator turned functional health investigator. This podcast is here to share bite-sized episodes and unique interviews on a wide variety of health topics to empower, enlighten, and educate you to live your best, most vibrant life. Disclaimer: all information you hear on this podcast is for information only and constitutes individual opinions of the person speaking. This should not be taken as medical advice. Being a listener of this show does not initiate a practitioner-client relationship between you and the hosts or panelists on this show. Please discuss these topics with your medical professionals before making any changes to your health. Okay, let's dive in. Welcome back to the Holistic Health Bites podcast. Today we are talking about keto and kidney health. Is it risky? Is it beneficial? Let's dive in. Dietary carbohydrate restriction is well established to be beneficial for reversing metabolic syndrome and other conditions related to insulin resistance, such as polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS, and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. However, there are still some lingering myths about the ketogenic diet that make people leery to try a low-carb, higher fat way of eating. One of the myths that persists is that keto is harmful for the kidneys, despite there being a lot of research showing the contrary. In fact, recent research shows not only is carbohydrate restriction not harmful for kidney function, but rather it appears to be beneficial. Let's break this down a little bit farther. Diabetes and hypertension are the two biggest causes of chronic kidney disease and kidney failure. According to the American Kidney Fund, diabetes is responsible for 47% of new cases of kidney failure, and hypertension is responsible for 27% of new cases of kidney failure. So taken together, type 2 diabetes and hypertension are responsible for nearly 75% of all cases of kidney failure. Considering that carbohydrate restriction has been shown to help many people put type 2 diabetes into remission and improve or eliminate hypertension, including getting off of some antihypertensive medications, ketogenic diets may support healthy kidney function by improving or completely reversing the two biggest causes of CKD. At best, conventional treatment for CKD slows disease progression. Kidney function continues to decline, it just declines more slowly. On the contrary, a very low-calorie ketogenic diet has been shown to actually restore healthy kidney function in 27% of subjects with mild CKD, as published in a study in the journal Nutrients. This study, while different from the traditional ketogenic diet, consisted of a very short duration, very low-calorie, low-carbohydrate food plan. They found that patients on this plan for 3 months lost a mean of 20% of their body weight. Blood pressure decreased, lipids and blood glucose also significantly improved, with no safety risks arriving. Liver enzymes improved, triglycerides profoundly decreased, and uric acid significantly decreased. Fortunately, kidney function has also been studied in subjects in a more real-world approach to low-carb and keto, and ad-lib or unlimited low-carb diets show a beneficial effect on the kidneys. The DIRECT trial, published in the journal Diabetes Care, compared 3 different diets: a low-fat diet with calorie restriction, a Mediterranean diet with calorie restriction, and a low-carb diet with no calorie restriction. The low-carb diet was shown to have the biggest beneficial effect on kidney function, although all 3 diets were also shown benefits. Keto diets show benefit even for kidney disease driven primarily by genetic mutations. In a study of keto for autosomal-dominant polycystic kidney disease, the most common genetic cause of kidney failure, keto showed improved kidney function, while subjects following their usual diet or doing periodic fasting, like fasting for 3 days per month, continued to experience a decline in kidney function. A review published in the Clinical Kidney Journal stated, quote, "Altogether, the available clinical studies and experience to date suggest that ketogenic metabolic therapy, KMT, is feasible in patients with CKD and does not harm the kidneys, but rather has beneficial effects, including CKD remission. Despite the evidence supporting the use of keto diets in patients with kidney disease, there may still be lingering questions about protein intake. It's important to note that the traditional keto diet is not a high protein diet. The fundamental principle of the ketogenic diet is maintaining a very low carbohydrate intake. But even among individuals who consume higher protein diets, there's no evidence that high protein diets increase the risk for CKD. What matters more for keeping the kidneys healthy is managing blood sugar and blood pressure. If high protein intakes don't cause kidney disease, what about people who already have chronic kidney disease? This is where the recommendations get a little bit shaky. Currently, the recommendations are to limit protein intake. But there's also a growing call to amend those recommendations because protein has repeatedly been found to have little effect on disease progression. On the other hand, carbohydrate restriction has been shown to be beneficial for slowing disease progression or improving CKD, even when protein intake is generous. In a study of people with type 2 diabetes and diabetic nephropathy, a low-carb diet with 25 to 30% of calories from protein, significantly higher than the typical recommendations for individuals with compromised kidney function, was more effective for slowing disease progression and reducing deaths compared to a low-protein, high-carb diet. High-protein approaches have been employed in several other studies looking at low-carb or ketogenic diets for CKD, and the benefits were still observed, even if the protein sources were predominantly animal foods rather than plant foods. The BMJ Open Diabetes Research and Care concluded, quote, "There is a considerable body of research suggesting a very low carbohydrate ketogenic diet is safe in individuals with moderately diminished kidney function, even in studies that had higher protein intakes than what is recommended for kidney disease and diets that are not plant-based. The diet can be safely prescribed in patients with type 2 diabetes for treating and remitting diabetes, even if they have underlying stage 2 or 3 chronic kidney disease or reduced kidney function." Ketogenic diets have been found to be beneficial in reducing a wide range of disease dynamics with multiple different approaches to the ketogenic diet. As I've stated before, when discussing the ketogenic diet, the major distinction here is these benefits will come from a well-formulated ketogenic diet, not a keto treats or pink drinks fad keto. Don't just run out and start buying products labeled keto-friendly. An ultra-processed food diet, even when keto-friendly, is not going to improve your health. Eat real foods that contain fewer carbohydrates. Until the next, be well and vibrant. Thanks for being a faithful listener to the podcast. Did you get value from listening to this show? I'd love it if you left me a review on this podcast so that others can more easily find this valuable information. Did you know I also work one-on-one with clients and my practice is entirely virtual? I approach solving health challenges like I approached solving crimes, by conducting a thorough investigation into your case. Sadly, hundreds of millions of people in the US have poor metabolic function, insulin resistance, prediabetes, and diabetes, and the vast majority have no idea because their doctors aren't looking in the right places. I'm here to fix that without unnecessary medications. If you struggle with low energy, stubborn weight, hypertension, sleep disturbances, or any other undesired symptom, and you want a natural, lasting approach to correcting the problem rather than masking symptoms, apply to work with me. The link is in the show notes.